ESPN and ABC to the NFC nightcap. It's the Lions hosting the Commanders. Now, last week in the wild card, Jayden Daniels got his 6th comeback win after trailing in the 4th quarter this season. That is the most by any rookie starting quarterback since 1950. But these ain't the Bucs. He's facing a dominant Lions team that outscored opponents by 222 points this season, the highest in the league and the highest in team history. Detroit's 70 touchdowns, 5 more than the next best team. Expectations have not been this high in Detroit in a long time. It's their first time.
Is what just absolutely jumps out to you for different players. And so sometimes you may see one player just absolutely off the charts, but when it's spread, so much, that's a big difference. And that's what makes their offense, such a unique challenge.
I think the most important thing is it doesn't matter where you're at, where you're seated, how many wins you have. You got to stay hungry. And our team's hungry. I think we enjoy it. We enjoy it. We embrace this. We love the atmosphere. We love everything about this, man. And I just feel like we thrive in this.
All right, Ryan Clark is back. And RC, Washington has already pulled off one road upset, but they're up against this very dominant Lions team. What is the Commanders' key on Saturday to get a win?
I think it's about 3rd and 4th down efficiency. I know you look at the Washington Commanders and you think to yourself, okay, this team barely uses their punter Tress Way, but it's not because they stay ahead of the sticks. It's because on 3rd and 4th downs, we've seen Jayden Daniels be able to execute at an extremely high level. And you need to steal possessions away from the Detroit Lions, who have one of the most potent offenses in all of the NFL. And so if Jayden Daniels can be dialed in the way we saw him against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or the way they've executed at the top of the league on 4th down throughout the entire season, that's going to be extremely important to stealing possessions away from the Detroit Lions.
It would be so huge if Jayden Daniels was able to pull off this upset. We'll see if he's able to do it. RC, don't go anywhere. Matt?
Yeah, because that's Saturday. Here's Sunday's divisional round showdowns. You've got Saquon Barkley and the Eagles.
Hey, Chris Canty, which remaining NFC quarterback do you want to have the most?
I got to go with Jayden Daniels. And I know it's counter because rookie quarterbacks don't win the Super Bowl, but this brother is special, Stephen A. Jayden Daniels is absolutely unbelievable. The poise that he was able to show in that game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the wild card round. You're only talking about 4 rookie quarterbacks being able to go on the road and win road playoff games. And Jayden Daniels is one of them. And 2 of the other 3 just so happen to be quarterbacks that have won Super Bowl, that being Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson. The other one, and Mark Sanchez, got the back-to-back conference championship games. So if history tells us anything, that this brother Jayden Daniels is going to be around in the championship rounds, and he may well be in the championship rounds this year because he's going up against the Detroit Lions team that is a good matchup for him in terms of individual productivity. The Detroit Lions are bottom 5 when it comes to rush yards and rushing touchdowns allowed to opposing quarterbacks. Their pass rush took a hit when they lost Aiden Hutchinson. And so you're thinking to yourself, if Jayden Daniels has an opportunity to have some room, that he could do some damage against that Detroit Lions defense. And so I would take Jayden Daniels if I had to pick one of the quarterbacks that are remaining in the playoff field.
So it's because of the offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. Understand that you're going to face a heavy man-based team on the back end in the Washington Commanders. The creativity they have in that offense, being able to take the top off of the defense with J-Mo Williams, but Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporte are working in between the numbers. On top of that, having a Jahmyr Gibbs that if you decide that you're going to play 2 high safeties or go 2 man, have a guy that could run the football and exploit the defense. Jayden Daniels, to me, is the more talented player. Jayden Daniels has done more with less than Jared Goff. But when you talk about the team that Dan Campbell has assembled around Jared Goff and the way that he's executed within that offense, I have more faith in him and that team going into this game than I do the Washington Commanders and their young quarterback.
Well, definitely, I feel where you're coming from. I'm going to go with Daniels on this one, but not just because of his talent, not just because he's had about 4 fourth-quarter comebacks this season, second only to Patrick Mahomes' 5, but also because of the fact I'm looking at what they had, 13 dudes on the injured list for the Detroit Lions in the season finale against the Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold couldn't take advantage of it. I think Jayden Daniels is the kind of cat who will. What's going to be interesting is that I've got Detroit winning this game, fellas. I will say this to you, though. If it's close, it'll be everything we wanted in this game from the standpoint that you put Jayden, if it's close, let's say, for example, Detroit is winning, but it's a one-score game, and it's coming down to the wire, and Jayden Daniels has the ball in his hands. That's going to be something to behold. With Detroit, you can look at Goff, you can look at Ben Johnson's play calling, you can look at Jameson Williams or Laporta or somebody that's going to get the ball, or you can look at Gibbs and see if he's going to do what he's capable of doing and running the football. In the case of Washington, even though McLaurin is there, what have you, it's really about Jayden Daniels at this point. What is he going to do to make something happen? Because that's what he does, makes things happen. Yeah. And against Detroit in the Motor City, as hyped as they're going to be, it's going to be real interesting to see how he's going to respond. I have faith in him more so than Goff, but that's no shade on Goff whatsoever. I just think Goff has more people to rely upon. Daniels, not necessarily the case. But in the end, we're going to find out about this kid because I think he's going to show up, and I think he's going to be in a position to make things happen.
I think it's evident that on paper, the Detroit Lions are favored because of the personnel that's around Jared Goff. I think skillfully, the two, it's not even really a comparison. Jayden Daniels has more upside. Now, if we want to label a title for the playoffs as a whole, it's Carpe Diem. You have to seize the moment. You have to seize the opportunity. You have to seize the day. Because it's no tomorrow. It's no next play. It's no next time. It's no my bads. It's we'll get a next. No, you do not have no guarantees in playoff football. So, Jayden Daniels, this message is for you. Do not chase ghosts. Do not worry about the intangibles. Do not worry about that you're playing one of the top teams in the NFL, in the Detroit Lions. Do not get so caught up into the crowd. Do not get so caught up into, the things that they're trying to make it out to be. It's an away game. You have the Lions' success, and they have a tendency to bully teams. You cannot allow yourself to worry about things that you can't control. If you do that, then you put yourself in the best situation to seize the moment. You have the skill. It was also loud in Tampa Bay last week. Yeah. But did that alter your gameplay? Absolutely not. Is it going to be loud in Detroit? Absolutely. Is it going to be loud everywhere this weekend? Absolutely. But do not worry about the intangibles. Just play your game. Now, understanding that those amenities, as I call, on your side, you have to get them going. Yeah. And nobody really cares about the excuses. We just want to see the production.
Yeah, but I think the thing that's beautiful about what you said to Jayden Daniels, or the message you send him, Cam, is that's exactly who he is. I watched this kid at 18 when the Oregon Ducks were a top 10 football team and they came into Arizona State with Justin Herbert. I watched him play Justin Herbert. I'll play Justin Herbert that night. I watched him make a throw down the sideline to win a football game in the last minute that was 80 yards with his back to the goal line. And so he's always been this player. Think about after Zane Gonzalez makes that field goal and it doinks off of the upright. There was no smile. There was no jubilation. There was no celebration because he understood the same way we talked about earlier, Stephen A., that the job's not finished. This kid has been poised since he started playing this season. And even though against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week 1, it wasn't exactly what we watched it become, you could see that it was building. Everything around this young man has been, he's the one, whether it was Austin Eckler in the offseason, whether it was Zach Ertz in the offseason, general manager Adam Peters. They all knew what they had from the moment that he stepped into the building. But Jayden Daniels has far exceeded expectations because of everything you said. He doesn't look at the rosters and say that we have no chance. He doesn't look at the clock or look at the scoreboard and think that this game is over as long as he has an opportunity to have it in his hands. And I believe Stephen A. laid it out perfectly. If we get a one-score game with the Washington Commanders down and the football in Jayden Daniels' hands, we have everything that we want from that game because I believe the young man can elevate his team and walk into the NFC Championship.
I would like to say this too, guys. He's played more football than this season he's played in his life. Yep. I mean, we got to remember that. And he's been hit too. He had blood trickling down his face the other day. He had a rib injury that caused him to miss some action earlier this season. We know that he was injured in college and stuff like that. And I'm just bringing that up only from the standpoint, you going into Detroit, listen, have y'all seen that environment? This is a team that hasn't done anything. I mean, last year they got to the NFC Championship game. Please don't get me wrong. But prior to that, they hadn't done anything basically since 1957. All they had to rely upon was Barry Sanders. Footages of Barry Sanders. You understand what I'm saying? Having him walk around as a virtual ambassador for the team or whatever, because we know he's one of the greatest running backs we've ever seen in our lives. He's absolutely spectacular. So much so that when we see Saquon Barkley, that's what we think about. You don't think about anybody else. You think about running backs in history. You don't think about anybody else but Barry Sanders when you think about what you see from Saquon Barkley. That's how spectacular Barry Sanders is. But these cats, this organization hasn't won anything since 1957. And so when you think about going into that environment, that's another thing that excites me about Jayden Daniels, because he seems to thrive under the most adverse of circumstances.
Yeah.
And in Detroit, the way Dan Campbell got them boys looking, as hyped as that city is going to be, that stadium is going to be, that environment is going to be, you got to be ready. You know this better than me, Cam, RC. You got to be ready before the game, before you show up. You got to be, you got to wear it in your head. It's like, yo, this is not normal circumstances right here. This brother is built for it, but we about to find out how built for it is he.
He's got 6 comeback wins this season when trailing in the fourth, most by a quarterback.